Right, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies for absence? I think we're all here, aren't we?
Councillor Baker's not appeared, but
Sorry.
I've not had an apology, so we'll have to take it. But
are we still under this rule, though, because of technology issues? Apology is automatically an apology because we're using different.
He should really say he's having difficulty, but we can assume on it. I mean, he has had terrible problems in the past, so maybe fair to assume he may join us later. But in the meantime, we could take it on that basis if members are happy.
I think that's the resolution we made in council, didn't we?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Jolly good. Declarations of interest. I have one. The food festival. I've applied to be on the committee, so I'm either on the committee or I'm about to be on the committee. So there could be a conflict of interest there for myself.
And obviously I'm on the food festival committee as well.
Right. So that, I mean, I think it would be a personal interest, not prejudicial, so it wouldn't stop you taking part or voting, except Sian hasn't got a vote, obviously, because you don't financially benefit your volunteers on the committee and not direct, you don't get any financial benefit.
Thank you for the clearance on that. It's brilliant. Thank you. Are there any other declarations? No? Minutes of the last meeting. Now, as I wasn't, well, I was present, kind of present for a bit of the last meeting. I wasn't there in full, so I can't have much say in this one either, I'm afraid.
I'd like to propose a true record of the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Haddy. The seconder. Thank you, Mr. Councillor Mile.
Councillor, excuse me, am I still? I can't see myself in here. What we've been tending to do with full council is then asking anybody against, rather than asking.
Thank you very much for clarification.
And if there's anybody against, we assume it's gone. Right, fine, thank you.
Okay, cool. Chair's announcements, none from me. Sorted.
Okay.
Town clerk reports.
Yeah, the first, Chairman, is, if you recall, it's Councillor Mile that first raised it a while back now about our insurance cover, and we resolved to go out to get quotations for insurance cover valuation or building cost reinstatement valuation. I did contact two local individuals who were suggested. Both declined because they've not, they haven't got the level of insurance, I think, cover to do this kind of work at the moment. They're happy doing like a home survey or two, but not something of this size. I also double checked with the insurers, and they had to be, chartered building surveyors with a commercial expertise. So as you can see, I tried to keep it as local as I could, and I went out to 6 contractors to seek quotations. They went out to beginning of January to get them back in February for this meeting. And as you can see, only 2 have responded. And the lowest SP projects from Mould Business Park Wrexham have come in at the lowest price of £1,500. Clearly, I think I must admit it was quite a bit more than I expected, but I suppose commercial valuation isn't the same as getting a house valuation. So therefore, the recommendation is that we should proceed with appointing SP projects to do this valuation so we can get this into the system. Our insurance is renewed in June, so we'd have to get this done and then get the valuation over to the insurers for June, Chairman.
Councillor Haddy.
The proposition, pardon me, your recommendation is to appoint VA of Friesgate, Grosvenor Street, Chester.
Sorry.
Not SP project.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, my mistake.
So either that's a typing error, or you quoted the wrong people.
Yeah, it's well. If we say we go for the cheaper valuation, anybody that either can do it. I may have got them in the wrong order. I may have moved them, but I
propose we go for SP projects to do the valuation.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, now. Seconder.
I will. Can I just shout up if you can't see me? I don't know why.
Yeah, that's it. That's good, John, because when you shout up, your picture of a video camera comes up on screen.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's an improvement.
It's confirmation. As you can see, it's SP projects. Sorry, it's my mistake.
Lovely, thank you very much.
I've been a bit slack.
I must admit, I was confused as to why we went to a more expensive scope then.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake.
That's all right.
Okay, thank you. I've got nobody dissent.
Okay. Now, the Town Hall Work Programme report.
Yes, if you recall, you had that working group, and we went through quite a few things. But there were some items that have come up recently, which I'd just like to bring members up to speed. Excuse me. Obviously, you will recall that earlier in the year we concentrated on. The council decided not to do many new projects, as it were, and we concentrated on those that were identified in last year's risk assessment. Things to get recovery actions from COVID and health and safety issues in the town hall. However, we also then later went and decided to apply for the Welsh Government, which meant we had to hold back some additional funding potentially to cover costs there. And therefore the money that was allocated for projects for the town hall was obviously diverted to that aspect. Having said that, we now know that's been freed up again, but rather too late to do much in this financial year, but will be available going forward. So the priority was early on to make sure we could get the building COVID safe. I hate that word, more safe than other places, not totally safe. Which we did, and it did open then. We were ready for opening briefly in October. As you know, we had dance classes for literally a month, and then the local lockdown came back in. And then that morphed into the national lockdown in December. However, as you know, Charlie took the opportunity to get volunteers in, and the work was done to the main, box office and main reception area, first floor. And that has now, in essence, been completed. So now we're operating on the balcony. The balcony was stripped, the chairs have been stripped, the arms are left looking like Star Wars warriors marching down a balcony. But unfortunately, when we stripped it back, there were quite a few things that came to light. Some damaged floorboards that weren't ending on a joist, so were freely hanging. And therefore we had to get a contractor in, Glyn Roberts, who's on our select list, came in and stripped back some of the wood that needed to be repaired, did the repairs, and whilst he was there we got him to sand it and restain the balcony ready. So all that work is done, and there were two areas, I don't know if you recall, the balcony stood transects the top of two windows, and there was quite a dip either side, which was potential health and safety risk, which was so much more apparent when you got the chairs out of the way. So we had to get a joiner in to come and make that safe. So that work's been done, and that will be taken out of our general budget. You'll have that be reported next week to council. But Charlie is working with volunteers sort of quite well on the balcony seating. She's stripped most of them down. She's painted them herself with chalk paint, which eliminates the need to sand them back. So they're all been repainted. The arms have been repainted, and in April now, she's got she's sought somebody to assist on the reupholstering. She's going to do that with a lady, and as you recall, we've already paid to safeguard the cost of the velvet for that. We secured that last council meeting. So that work is ongoing, and that bulk of that will be funded hopefully from a donation, and the friends of the town hall have also indicated that the bulk of that will be done. So those replacement seats, etc., will be covered. So whilst Charlie's been doing that work, prior to just finishing that, we'd started painting the back stairwell, and then we opened up again. So we thought we can't leave that half done, so that's now being done again. Glyn is looking at that, and at the same time, we've had a plumber in to remove the sinks in the various changing rooms to give a bit more space. They're seldom used, So we've replaced them with a single sink unit, and some works have been done to try and give a bit more space in each of the changing rooms for people when they're in there, because they're a bit cramped. So that again will continue, and hopefully will be complete fairly soon, within days, I think. Problem is, it's a very big, cold building, and it takes layers and layers of paint because it just all disappears like a sponge. So it does take quite a bit to get it up to standard. Then, if you recall, you looked at the morgue. The morgue, as I said, has been patched up, shall we say. Again, Glyn was asked to come in. He's secured the leaks, replaced some slates, repaired some guttering. So the whole facility is now watertight. But clearly, there is more work to be done there, and hopefully we can take that forward next financial year. The other thing that's come to the fore, really, it came about, obviously, just prior to lockdown. We've been looking at possibly putting on events like recordings from Glyndebourne, Rowan, Shakespeare, which the town council themselves could put on using the new dot. Well, it's our equipment as well, to project these things and have, informal nights where that would be direct income to the town hall. So we're not renting the room. We would put these on, a bit of cheese and wine and that kind of thing, and invited guests, as it were. But even our attempts to put a sender under the stage has rendered the signal is still very weak, largely because although we've got good connection to the building, it's still not adequate, I believe, for upstairs. During the course of the seminars we had, or webinars rather, excuse me, mouth's a bit dry, we had a gentleman from the Fringe there. He also does the Focus Wales event, and they had used it during the lockdown to do some events from there, socially distanced and complied with everything. But the download speed is rather poor, and it was suggested that going forward, that these hybrid versions of events going on, and possibly allowing screenings to be viewed remotely, would be a very useful way to go forward. So we have looked at the position, and as I said, whilst we've got a 75 meg download, we only have in the region of 10 megabytes per second upload. But we have now found out, depending which postcode you used, originally using the office postcode, we couldn't have it. But if you give the postcode of the front of the building, we are capable of having fibre to property. And there is a package there, Ultrafast Enhanced 2, which would give us 340 megabytes into the building and 48 megabyte download, which I believe would be significantly better for allowing screening of events externally, and certainly would be better for the downloading of events onto the screen if we so wish to do it. The second aspect is we've got lots of cables in that building. We've got 2 or 3 old grey and brown telephone points. We've got networking cabling when it was used by Denbighshire County Council. 4 points on the wall by myself. I think there's 2 in Charlie's office. There's 1 elsewhere, of which we only use 1. And there needs to be a rationalisation, really, of all the cabling and a redistribution of the cabling to allow more access and a better connectivity through the building. John, the RIT ACS technology, has looked at this and has come up with wired access points that also act as a Wi-Fi point. So we'd be wired to the access point, which you could plug into, but it's also a Wi-Fi outlet. And we would be suggesting that we put a couple of those, one on the side of the stage, 1 upstairs, probably where the lighting decks get placed now, under the balcony, 1 directly into the lighting room chamber, and then several downstairs in the office, obviously, for connection. And then we're anticipating a new rack, and a UPS supply, uninterrupted supply, and all the things that I don't really understand. And I asked him to quote on this for two reasons primarily. At the moment, we have £2,000 in our budget for equipment, so a fair bit of this could be covered this year. Next year, that budget goes down to 500. So whilst we potentially have less next year, it's not a requirement to tender telephony systems if they're replacement or upgrading. So we don't necessarily have to tender, but we have had some since the publication of the agenda. We have had a few other companies suggesting that they could do it cheaper. So whilst this report suggests a three-phase approach, if members are happy to continue on that basis, we can. But if you feel it would be useful to go out to tender and perhaps look at more competitive pricing, that we go rather than three phases, go for a single phase on the connectivity and the equipment, but still move over to the new system, telecom system, largely because not only will it give us greater download speeds, we could then move to VoIP phoning, so we could have two phones instead of the one, be two numbers, so Charlie could have her own number, so we're not waiting for the one phone to be put down. It allows for video calling, it allows us to divert to various other aspects if you're not in the building. So if we can't use the building, we've got to do remote access again. There's the versatility to send it to a computer or a mobile phone or etc. And the cost of that system running on as a add-on to our existing Microsoft Exchange is £9 per phone each month. So that and the cost of the package still is in the same range as we're paying BT just for broadband and one phone. So I would encourage that, or suggest that would be encouraging to move to that to give the greater flexibility. But again, as members said, we could either go by, as I said to members, we can either go by the original resolution, or we bundle the two together and go out to tender in the new financial year. But in doing that, I would like to suggest if we do that, we ask our IT provider to spec exactly what we need so that it's compatible and that, in the end, he will have to maintain it. And that specification is then used, and we allow them to manage manage that process of drawing up the specification, which I would then send out for quotations. And then they would just check it when it comes back in. And then obviously it would be presented to the to the committee for approval. So that's the position, Chairman. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
All right. Well, I have gone through this with a fine-tooth comb, Gareth, actually.
Yeah.
And to me, when I first read it, there's not much technical detail in it. It's all sales pitch. Mm-hmm. For a start, things are misworded. There are inaccuracies in it. It's wrong. For a start, 10 megabits. You say, unfortunately, 10 megabits. We've only got 10 megabits, unfortunately. I tell you, people in Llangollen would be very happy with 10 megs upload.
Oh, yes, I appreciate that. But
we don't need any more than that. We don't need a faster download. With 10 megs, you could have a full HD broadcast from the hall, a full HD broadcast from the chambers, and have a Zoom meeting in the office on 10 megabits. We're never going to want more than that. I think it's been sold rather than it's not a want.
Well, it was, as I said, it came out from conversations that we had during the webinars
I appreciate it. Are we talking about when Mal was there with the fringe?
Yes. And
Mal did have a few problems. But it wasn't down to the download speed. It was actually the link to the main box.
Yeah. So
rather than the speed coming in. So the only people I went around all the businesses in Llan who've got 10 megs. There aren't any really who need it. There's only two people that I could get. It was Mal and Andrew Gale, who were uploading films at 4K quality for speed. The likes of Mail Solutions, who are uploading massive files back and to Telford all the time. They've only got 2 to 3 megabits upload. So It's just the way we use it, I think, is more important than what speed we've got coming in.
I mean, I said I am no expert. I'm just going on what has been relayed to me.
As I say, guys, I appreciate that, and I think you've been sold it rather than you've been sold you need it rather than the fact that you do need it.
I'm not saying I'm going on what was said by the fringe in essence that it would be advantageous to have a higher speed. So, and the higher speed is available at the same price. That's my argument. So,
that's okay.
I'm not bothered one way or the other. Charlie and I have got sufficient.
And then the equipment you've been quoted for, I think Ollie and James, I mean, James has been doing sterling work at the town hall for years and years and years. And now he's formed a company with Ollie. We've got a dream team on our doorstep, really, because they will look after us. They know what we want. They know what the town hall needs, rather than they're not going to sell us anything we don't need. They're very competitive. And they did give us a quote, and I can't see their quote that came in from them. I have seen it because Ollie sent me a copy, but I don't see this in the report.
That's because they gave us a quote unsolicited, so it wasn't requested by us.
Oh, okay.
Well, can we still not use it though? Can we still not?
Well, if we're going to, as I said, if it was to replace some telephony, we haven't got to technically quote. But because it's been raised, I think now we're in a position where we will have to go out to tender if you feel this is going. And it would be we would have to invite at least 5 companies to tender.
Why do we need to go to tender? Why can't we just quote like we did for the insurance?
Quotation. So, yeah.
Tender is a bit of a faff of documentation, isn't it?
We still have to go out through the process of issuing a specification, which will have to be written, and then they will have to quote against the specification that we want, not submit what they think we need. But
basically, all they're doing is the same as this report. So I would propose, really, that what we get from James and Ollie, apart from the actual supply of the phone system and the lines themselves, we get the Wi-Fi throughout the building. We get all the cabling we want in the right places that we want. We get it integrated with the system that they've put in for the sound and visuals, and we get it at a fraction of the price of this.
Well, if they tender, yes, or quote.
But why? Well, why? What I'm trying to get at is, you've put this as a report. Can we go for stage 1? You recommend we go for stage 1 here now. Why can't we just change that for Ollie and James's stage 1?
Because they haven't given us a price on stage 1 on the basis of that equipment. I've had no specification apart from a price saying we would like to do this for £2,000 or something. That is not the way we operate. If we are going to, you either operate with our preferred supplier of our select list. They're not on our select list of tenders because they're not on it. They've never done IT connectivity for us.
Yes, okay.
What I'm saying is, if you're unhappy, then we will have to go down the road of making a full quotation, a specification, invitation, give a couple of weeks, and we'll have to go at least 3, if not 5, as I did with insurance companies. And then we'll bring it back and we'll see who was specified against that.
We could do that
I'll propose that then.
Okay, just before we do propose on that, can I just... I think we need to propose who... Sorry, John. Would you like to... Sorry, John.
I'm still waiting to make a comment before you move forward to any proposition.
Sorry.
There's 2 different aspects of this that struck me. One is the actual need for the high-speed broadband, and I would question who it would actually be useful for, given the costs and the ongoing stuff that is associated with that. But am I to understand that this system would replace what we've currently got, but at the same price, give us a much greater capability? Does that summation?
Correct. We're paying on average £100 before that, so we're probably paying about, as I say, £70–80 for the broadband we have now, and 1 telephone. What I'm suggesting here is, it's £60-odd at the moment for a much greater speed in and out, which we may not need it, but we've got it for the future, or the building has it for the future, and it gives us the flexibility to put VoIP on as well. So we can add VoIP phones. So again,
you can actually add VoIP to what the system we've got now.
Okay, so
yeah,
that answers my initial questions. Now, the next thing is, it seems to be quite a big chunk of money to rip out the existing stuff and rationalise it. That's where the main sort of queries seem to be lying. As a principle, members, given that it gives us speed that we don't necessarily need, but it gives us greater capacity at the same price. That's a reasonable argument for looking at it.
Correct.
And then on top of that, you've got who's going to do it. So is it a principal decision that we can make this evening that we will investigate it further, and whether or not we go with our existing chappie or whether we go with somebody else? We still don't need to go to the point of tender. We just need a specification, and we need to have a price.
Thank you, John. Yes.
Can I just
bring at some point, please?
The connectivity is nothing to do with the current provider. That's a BT. You know, it's working with BT to put a new line in, and then we can rationalise the 3 or 4 telephone lines we have coming in. We'll have one single line coming in, and then that's what we will connect our existing system to. So that irrespective of what we do, is separate. That's just, you know, it's I was advised that this was I said it comes about because we were discussions about future-proofing the building and the community and getting better broadband. So I investigated it. BT had this product on offer. My first one was nearly £300 a month, but that was the least line, and then I whittled it down to, I saw this on the BT website. And so, you know, we can further investigate to make doubly sure that we're getting more for our money. And then, you know, we could go ahead with that. There's no rush to do that. We've got a currently good system for, bearing in mind there's only Charlie at the moment in the office doing this, but every other day there's hardly anybody there. So
Okay.
The other one is we will
Councillor Palmer was trying to get in.
Yes, he was. Councillor Palmer.
Yes, there's an issue here beyond from my point of view, beyond the putting this new system in, or developing or improving what's there. People have done a good job with the painting, and they've done a good job with the balcony and also the upholstery. But they also seem to be ad hoc. This is how I see it. Useful, and the current report says that changing this system would be beneficial as opposed to necessary. And I'm questioning whether we have a plan for improving the town hall, and whether we need a plan of priorities in improving and making the town hall more efficient and generally better, so that we spend our money where it's needed. So essentially I'm saying that there are a lot of things need doing, and I noticed we were supposed to be having a working group. The working group could get down to this, and I know that I wasn't able to join it, but you had an inspection of the town hall. So it seems to me that it would be a good idea, or important, that we had a prioritised development plan for the town hall and a development plan for managing our assets. I know I'm going off this bit, but I think it's relevant to what this is all about.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. I quite agree, John, quite agree. There's no structure to the way that money's being spent in the town hall at the moment. It just seems to be, this is a good idea, let's do it. So I quite agree with that. I'm coming.
I mean, I think you've got to recognise we've never had an opportunity to have a completely empty building for 12 months.
That's very true. Very true.
And the opportunity's been taken to do things which we couldn't possibly do when we were operational. So
officially, while Charlie's on, we've had quite a few meetings where Charlie hasn't been present, and we've thanked Charlie in our absence. But Charlie, thank you very much indeed for all the work you've put in there.
This is not a criticism.
No, I understand.
I'm presenting an option that I think would benefit developing our assets.
Yes, quite right too, John. And perhaps that's something we can put. John, Mr. Councillor Hadley would like to say something.
Well, we had our working party meeting just before Christmas, didn't we? We were just on the edge of lockdown.
Yeah.
So, which we reported back to, and the actions have been taken on certain aspects of that. Is there any reason why we can't move this forward until and follow along what Councillor Palmer's just outlined, and hold a working party to sort out the way forward in the way that he suggested? It would be quite simple and straightforward, and we don't have to wait until the next quarter to deal with matters.
That's a very sensible suggestion, Councillor Hadley. Yeah,
I have already done I've been working on a asset management task list. In the past, we used to have an issue log, as Councillor Hadley knows. I've updated that. It is my intention to bring that to the committee, because I think it's the committee should make the decisions, because if the working group make a decision, they can't make a decision. They've got to come to the committee to make the same decision, as you're all the same people on the working group. So I mean, we're not tied to the schedule. You know, we can always have extraordinary meetings. And I've been discussing this with Charlie earlier today. She's looked at the task list, and we've identified things. It's a bit like a Gantt chart, identifying what's been done this year, what else is left to be done. Like I said in the past, you know, we've got to also factor in a survey of the chain bridge. We also need to factor in the maintenance of various assets of land we have. So, you know, I was anticipating asking the chair to call an extraordinary meeting, probably in April, actually, as we get into the new financial year, when we have the budgets available. I also think that, you know, it's a shame that we will not technically lose money, but money that has been allocated this year, which we've had to put on hold because of other projects which took the money away from what we were scheduled to do in the town hall, which is in our business plan to refurbish the town hall. So, you know, we are acting under the business plan to refurbish the town hall. And, you know, it was just trying to make use of, as I say, the funds that we've got this year, because they're depleted again next year. You will recall we've reduced our budget. We've reduced the project fund from 30,000 to 20,000 for the town hall, albeit we have committed 90,000 over 3 years. And in fact, all we will have spent is the boiler so far, which was 20. So yes, I agree that we can have the plan, and I certainly bring that plan forward because it's in preparation. If you want to leave the whole aspect of the connectivity to that, I have no problem. I was just responding to users' needs.
Yeah. Actually, guys, yeah, thanks. You
and doing it and what I believe at no extra cost whatsoever on the terms of the connectivity to the outside world.
Apart from £3,500.
No, that's not. That's if you that doesn't not. You don't need to spend £3,500 to have BT new cable into our building.
Oh, okay, that's a separate one. Because
the point about the working party, of course, is that there's a lot of discussion that needs to go on before a decision is put forward. And the trouble is, once you need to formulate the proposition in the first place, and that's where the working group comes in.
That's very sound, and it bring us back to topic and onto this report. It was mentioned by the clerk that the specification, if we're going out to quote for anything, we need a specification. Now, and our IT supplier will do the specification. I don't think that's correct, because from what he suggested we use, to me, is an over-spec'd item, so I don't trust him. I feel that perhaps the working group should get together and build a specification to what we need. Councillor Haddy, I've lost. Oh no, I haven't dropped out, have I?
No, you're still there.
Oh, sorry. It's just I couldn't hear Councillor Haddy then. Councillor Haddy, sorry. Are you muted, John?
I can't.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
There you go, John. You're back in.
There we go. I'm back on again. It's there's two different aspects we're talking about here, and we're conflating them. That's the problem. One is the BT ultrafast, whatever it is, which the clerk is arguing introduces the better service at the same price.
Yeah.
Which we can go ahead with on the basis that it wouldn't cost us anything extra, but would provide us with the possibilities. But then on top of that, there's a separate matter which would need to discuss through the working party, I would think, to do with the actual cabling and the provision of the stuff throughout the building. So I don't think we don't need to bring the two together. So am I correct in my presumption that the actual cost of the BT ultrafast, whatever it is, would be run in at no extra cost, and the actual monthly costs of running that are the same as existing, but with a greater capacity?
From the mathematics that I've done, I can double check it. Yes, I think the cost. Sorry, I'm on a page here.
I usually have that problem.
I think the cost of, without looking it up, was around about £60 for the connectivity. If we go to VoIP, we don't have to have the a standing charge or whatever. So
line rental.
Line rental. It's then £9 each VoIP account as an add-on to our existing Microsoft Exchange through Teams. So you would get, extra phones in, one for Charlie, one direct, which would still be the same number. We'd keep the numbers, but it also then allows for, all the additionals, as I said.
Yeah. Can I just ask, have we got a fax in there, Gareth?
No. And then the other aspect, as I said, we respond I don't like to mention individual companies in case I got a quote, but we had users that had sent had said we can do this for X £1,000. So obviously they believe there's a need for something to be done. Our IT supplier thinks there's something need to be done, and we had a webinar, where other users have indicated they feel things need to be improved in the town hall. So it wasn't led necessarily by myself.
We quite agree. There's definite need for connectivity upstairs and throughout the town hall. Definite need for that. That's beyond discussion. We all know that is true.
But it also
the question we're going to have to vote on. Sorry, John Palmer.
Sorry, I know I'm shouting in, but I can't put my hand up.
I can't see your hand.
No, I can't, because you can't see me. It's just that I can see all the needs and the advantages, and I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, where does it come in our list about priorities? And I think if we have a working group, as was suggested, then we can put all this in a pot and start coming round with, yes, we need this to be done. Yes, we need this to be done, and then we can prioritise these things. And it doesn't mean that this is off the agenda. It just means that this has its place in the agenda. If I make myself clear.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's fine. So on that basis, we will defer anything to do with networking, and I will double confirm.
Well, actually, I got we had almost a proposal, but just if we went down the recommendation, items B and D can be deferred, but we can take a vote on C, because wasn't it established that the ultrafast Advanced 2 with the VoIP and everything or as it stands basically, is a changeover to faster broadband at no extra cost to the council.
Yes, that's what I was saying. We could confirm that. If I can confirm that it's no extra, the resolution should be, providing there's no extra cost, that we go ahead with that. We defer any item on networking, and then the only other one is agree that we have to get a drone survey. I forgot about that. I apologise.
Actually,
We've been up into the roof space. Contractors have been up. They just cannot find the source of the leak, so we need to be up on the roof. And without paying for scaffolding, it seemed the most practical way of trying to find out what's going on the roof.
right. I'll come to that one. Actually, I can tell you that a drone survey, on rooftop drone survey, I can supply that service free of charge to the council if they wish to take me up on my volunteered service. I'm a fully licensed and insured drone pilot. I do have a drone with a 4K camera.
I propose that Bulkhead does the survey.
Okay, that's fine. That saves us some money.
Of course it does.
I need to see you some papers just to clarify that.
I've got them here.
And at the risk of unanimity, I would like to propose that item C, we purchase the BT ultrafast enhanced to fibre into the building, assuming the figures that Clark has quoted are
that's fine.
confirmed.
Okay. So if we just reiterate, drone survey, we can commission a volunteer to do it. Who's got the necessary? So we're proposing to commission a volunteer would do it.
Seconded.
Would do it with the necessary permissions.
Actually, Gareth, you're recording this meeting, Gareth, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. There's my...
Yeah, I think it should... Yeah, I'm not saying you haven't got them. I'm just saying for the minute and the process, we would make sure that we're not breaking any law as a council by employing a volunteer. So I'm not denying you've got them, but it's the process.
At the risk of being frivolous, we need dustpan and brush as well for the bird feathers to.
B that subject to no additional cost, we proceed to the new ultrafast.
Proceed to enhance 2.
And then a recommendation C is that the rest is deferred for consideration as part of a larger asset task list, which is
set up by the working group.
Which is under preparation.
Yes.
I will be bringing that to, as I said, I will be bringing that to a meeting of the town committee, and then to move progress on it really. Okay, thank you very much.
Can we move it through the working group first, though, because there are items that will be in need of detailed discussion.
As you know, Councillor Abbey, I cannot attend working groups because I've been advised that they are, therefore you can discuss things as a working group as you so wish, but they wouldn't be an official. If you're a working group of the entire committee, then it is paramount to the committee meeting, and we've had that advice from Wanderers Wales, similar to the proposal we had of a working group of the whole council. You can have the meetings, but you wouldn't get the officer support, and you obviously have to come back. But I'm not preventing you having meetings if you so wish. But it would not be, one recognised by the council.
The problem is, in that case,
ordinary meeting, couldn't we?
In that case, how do we set out in advance of a decision the various options and discussions that take place? I know they can take place in a full meeting, but there are a lot of day-to-day discussions that are necessary on these sort of matters. That are what are we looking at, and what do we need to do, and so forth.
Well, you would hope that you would hope that both myself and Charlie, that look after the day-to-day responsibility of the building, would have the competency to bring forward something that you could discuss, and it would be for discussion and then subject recommendation. So things could be added or taken out to that task list going forward. So that's how I would see it operating. This is the place for debate. Committees and councils is where we should be debating aspects, and
We have to have a proposition to debate, of course. That's the problem.
No, you don't. The proposition only applies to notice of motion. The purpose of the committees or the town council is to debate thoroughly reports presented, agree them or not, like you have tonight. You've had a fair debate on it. We've decided not to progress with that, and we'll consider it another time. That's perfectly valid. So I'm hoping that we'll have as we'll have identified, myself and Charlie, as many aspects that need attention in the next 12 months. And then within that, as I say, it's to be set out in a Gantt chart type arrangement with what's in progress, what's been completed, what we're going to withdraw. And then we can work around that, given the budget limitations we've got, to see what can be achieved over the next 12 months. But I'd like to, technically the next meeting would be after the annual meeting in May. So we usually meet quarterly, but it doesn't prevent other meetings in between. So I would like an early meeting in April with a new budget. Because I don't want to miss another year with no investment going into things like the morgue as well. We are still got lots to do in the town hall, and we have missed a year because we've not been allowed to spend the money we had allocated because it was technically diverted elsewhere.
So if part of this proposal that we've just done now on this recommendation, the B's, part of B and D, can we make a resolution now to say, or whatever it's called, to say that the working group will set up a specification for what's needed IT-wise throughout the town hall and chambers?
The working group can do what it's like, yeah, as I said.
If we do that now here, then the working group can come back with a specification to go out for pricing.
I think what you would have to recommend is not a working group, a task to finish group of less members than the committee to investigate that. Councillor, as you as chair has the expertise which I don't have, then I would highly recommend that you would be on that task and finish group. And if you get one or two other councillors that can prepare the specification, and then if we do meet in April, we can bring that back to be considered by the committee. If it's accepted by the committee in April, we'll then go out to quote on it if it's within the priorities. That
would be great, because what I'd really like to do is do that, but along with the 20 Club, along with the Operatic, along with Val and Julie, whatever, actually we'll talk with them to see what their needs are, which are major users of the town hall, so that we all get what we want.
Yeah, setting up a task and finish group is acceptable. Which I would then, give the office a time to, and we do it through Starleaf. So if you wanted to initially have a task and finish group, and tonight you could identify which members would be on it, I would strongly urge the chair to be on it. Perhaps two other members, myself, and then the first meeting could be to get all the groups together, and Charlie could be on, not necessarily on the work group, but Charlie would be invited.
Yes, of course.
Get the needs of all groups together, and then that small working group task is to come up with a solution for that one aspect and report it to the committee.
Perfect. Okay, let's do that. Let's move forward. Do it.
I'm a bit confused, I'm afraid, here. If you could clarify things for me. We talked about developing a prioritised plan for the town hall. And seem to agree on that. Then we're now talking about, and I don't have a problem with it, we're now talking about this particular aspect of an improvement to the town hall by setting up a task and finish group. Now, does the task and finish group then produce its whatever you want to call it, recommendations or a cost or a price or whatever, to go into the plan, if we're going to produce a plan, prioritised plan for the town hall?
Yes, that's what I thought I just summarised. That you can set up a task and finish group, which is the way we should do these things, for a specific area of concern. And this area of concern is there is some kind of a recognised need that something needs to be done to the network in the town hall.
Yes.
There is expertise within the council on this, and there's expertise out with the council. So the suggestion is that fewer members of the committee than the whole committee. Otherwise, the whole committee considering it.
Yeah.
Task and finish group of say 2 or 3 council, 3 ideally, because as Enzo Maserati said, a committee of 2 is big enough. 1, 3 and everything. I can't remember what it says now. Should have not said anything really.
I've witnessed that firsthand.
But if you have a committee of 2, you're going to fall out. So 3 is easier, and then invite that task and finish group to explore this aspect, because there's a need, identify exactly what the users want, prepare a short report, come up with the type of equipment that's felt appropriate to fulfill that requirement, and have a specification drawn up. That would then be presented to the committee, and we could agree that aspect, and then that aspect is parked and then is considered in the round with all the other aspects. So if the roof for the mall is a higher priority doing networking of the town hall, then so be it. But not forgetting that if we network the town hall better, we can generate more income because we've got a better facility. So there's a balance to be had going forward in which aspects might, one might be better prioritised because it'll generate more income for us to the town hall.
I appreciate that, but that clarifies it for me, Gareth.
Thank you. Okay, that's great. So on that basis, as well as the previous resolutions, does somebody propose that we set up a task and finish group on this matter and nominate who should sit on it, please?
I volunteer not to.
I propose that we set it up.
Good. Right. So, Councillor Keddy, to be honest, yes?
Yes, please.
Experience. Councillor Haddy?
Well, I've got quite a lot of knowledge of the town hall over many years, so I might be helpful to you.
John, you've also got a good knowledge of
with the operatic as well.
Councillor Palmer's saying himself out. Councillor Baker isn't available. It's Councillor Mile or
I know as much about technology.
Sian could be on that, as she's a member of the committee, and Shields calls friends of the town hall as well.
I would suggest that Sian would be suitable if she's available, because she is the chairman of the Friends of the Town Hall.
Okay. I can do that.
And we'll progress that as soon as possible, getting an email out to get you all together, and if you could suggest who you'd like to invite, and we'll start off with a video conferencing to speak. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you very much. So we can put that one to bed, finally.
Yeah, thank you.
Food festival.
Have a drink.
Now, there's a bit of controversy over this one. And I don't know much because I'm a late joiner to the council, but basically there seems to be a bit of confusion as to should we use the square for jollies only, or can it be used for commercial use or not?
Do you want me to give you a bit of a background as to why we raised this?
Could I?
Well, before we get to that point, I think we, bearing in mind what Councillor Keddy said and the correspondence that's been floating around, plus the social media bits and pieces that have been, some of them quite heated, I think it's appropriate to reiterate that the Centenary Square is not a sacred space. It was produced for general use, and indeed the grant from the Heritage Lottery Fund that was used to substantially fund it was on the basis of community use. And whilst we've in the past thought shy of commercial usage, like a hot dog van or something similar, just because it's somebody selling something doesn't necessarily equate with commercial use, nor does it equate with disrespect for the town square, which happens to have memorials in it. But sorry, I think it's important that we go from that point.
Thank you for that.
Could I just, by way of introduction, really, just as Sian correctly said, just how we got to this point, I think is worth saying. It may have been remiss of me not to put more in the report, but this is an initial inquiry by the food festival to the town council. We had a Zoom meeting, and the expression of interest was there is a concern that a second year may go past and the food festival will not be able to take place in the pavilion. We cannot be certain, although people are quoting us constantly the roadmap of England, but obviously that's an English roadmap. We have no certainty as of yet in Wales when facilities like this will open. So rather than lose the event and the momentum, they are keen to have some much obviously watered down food festival this year over the same weekend. They contacted myself and asked what the situation would be. I explained that there is a provision, and we have a booking form and terms and conditions that allows charity, community, i.e. non-for-profit organisations to use the square. However, and I think the Food Festival recognised that there were some sensitivities, and that's why the consideration of closing Bridge Street came about. So the idea is that the Food Festival would primarily be located on Bridge Street, possibly some may be on the riverbank end that may infringe on the pavement of the square. And as I said, and I asked the festival group, would they object if we used this event then as a springboard for other activities to equally promote, look, we're here. Hopefully by 2022, things will be a lot better. So we'd envisage perhaps, again, Councillor Keddy's here, the Fringe might have a stand there, the International Eisteddfod, possibly the Food Bank, Royal British Legion themselves, because it's the month before Poppy Day, whether they would like to set up between the two memorials and, promote the Poppy appeal for this year. Food, as I said, Food Bank, and then people like the Operatic, the 20 Club, New Dot, and other users of the Town Hall to be there on the square with a visibility on the same weekend to make it very much the community's back to life post-COVID and going forward. Yes, there will be people selling things on the street. They've assured me, and again, I'm sure Sian would interject if I'm wrong, but there'll be no concessions. So they're not planning, iFixit Burger or mega pig roast company or something like that. There, it would be very much what the local produce there. Clearly, they'll be selling it, but then they're making a contribution to the food festival, which is a non-for-profit organisation, which needs the funds to keep it going. Otherwise, I think Sian would agree, if they can't make some money this year, they're in going to be a rather difficult situation going forward, and we will lose a community food festival from the town. As I said, the proposal, therefore, I can't make the decision. I brought it to the asset management, as it's one of the assets under your control. And the elements are really that we use the Town and Police Clauses Act 1847, which allows us to close the road for events, and there's no cost then associated with that. It's very early days. We know that there are properties that are going to be affected on Bridge Street, and I'm sure that the food festival will be contacting all those properties and residents, hospitality sector, which hopefully will be open by then, because obviously if they're not open, it's not an issue. But Riverbank, few Airbnbs on there. But equally on Bridge Street, there's quite a core of hospitality users. Riverbank, the wine bar, etc., Three Eagles, Dinsey Bar, Foosies. So the idea was that, and then you're also close to the Oggy shop and the bistro on the bridge. Is all very close. So that was the concept of using Bridge Street. Clearly, it's a decision for members. The financial support is, as we were asking, something whether we could give some, but again, it's not critical, I don't think, some support, as we were expecting something back from this for the community to help just with traffic management over the weekend. But we're a long way off. I think Sian will agree. There's still a lot of planning but they can't even start planning if they haven't got an indication whether the site could be, the road could be closed and this could go ahead. So that's the proposition, Chairman.
Okay, I appreciate that. Sean, would you like to add to that?
I don't know that there's a lot to add for that. We initially looked at the pavilion. They don't even know when they will be open yet. We're quoted a cost of £5,000 for using the pavilion, and that is whether we use the outside or the inside. Even we just stick to the outside. Given the COVID situation, we cannot see that we would be able to have as many stalls or as many people visiting. And therefore, if we cannot make that income that we would get from that, then we are effectively losing money, and we would be unable to hold a proper food festival next year. So that led us into the thoughts of what possibly we could do, where we could possibly hold it, which made me consider or ask Gareth about the possibility of the Centenary Square, which he then mentioned about the Bridge Street option as well. I mean, this is a community event, it's a town event. Personally, I think it would be good to use the square for things like this. But I understand there's a lot of sensitivity about it. I don't want the food festival to be dragged into a situation where they're the bad guys for even considering holding something on the Memorial Square, and we would rather not be involved in that if that's going to be the situation. We do not want to create bad feeling. But we are something that we do it as volunteers for the community. So I don't like being in this situation, quite frankly, where we're dragged through the mud on social media in a very rude way. Not appreciated at all. So it's up to the council really to decide how they use this square, and if it's contentious, we'll see if we can find somewhere else. But it just seems like such a shame to have this missed opportunity.
Yeah, you have my. I am ashamed, really, of local people dragging things like this up. Councillor Mao, I'll come right with you. But okay. Sian, you have my sympathy for that respect of people bringing the food festival and the council into it, whereas no decision's made. Let's take on everything on board, everybody's view on board. Let's make the right decision. Councillor Mile.
Just want to make a few points. They may not be logical or in order, but right now it's an inquiry only, and I realise that that's all it is. So we're not making any decisions here because we can't. It's going to go to full council anyway. I mean, I would suggest that this goes to full council anyway because it's going to be it needs a full council decision if we do it. The other thing I would say is that I think we need to decide. The bigger picture is what we are going to allow to be used. What we can allow that square to be used for. It is not a memorial square. There are memorials on it. It's not a memorial square. So we need to do that. And my other point would be, that I couldn't agree more with Sean. We're all getting pilloried on social media. It's not so bad for me because I don't really care. But it's not fair for the food festival to be dragged into this. It's just dreadful. I think that's me. And anyway, has anyone been to London and you've gone into Trafalgar Square and there's a memorial there to Admiral Lord Nelson, and it's festooned with people doing all sorts of things. I'm not suggesting that we have something frivolous on the square, but it just isn't a memorial square. That's all I'm saying. And the other thing would be, finally, the traffic management system on this. If we block Bridge Street off, there's no need for traffic management other than some signs and some bollards. We don't need Amber, whatever you call them, doing their stuff. We've just got road closed, end of, if we go that route. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mile. Councillor Haddy.
I don't think Councillor Mile was quite correct about it needs to be a full council decision. It is within the remit of the asset management group, and it's us that makes the decision. It's not full council. It's here.
Okay.
So,
can I make a comment? Some comments.
Councillor Palmer, please go ahead.
Right. At the last council meeting, I think it was, we wrote a letter in support of the AONB food and drink and the North East Wales food and drink, saying what a good idea it was. It is. There are a lot of volunteers involved in the food festival when it's up at the
Pavilion.
Up at the pavilion. And I think we have a role and responsibility to support businesses in the town because they've had a really, really tough time. And I would like to give as much support as possible to those businesses. And if this is one way that we can do it, then I would say it would be a good idea to do it. Because a lot of the businesses do in fact put a lot of time and effort into the town.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. So,
John Addy's there again.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
here again.
That's me.
And Charles after me. Sorry to be a nuisance to keep butting in, but is this a 1 or a 2 day event we're talking about? Because the food festival is normally a 2 day event, isn't it? And shutting down the town for 2 days might be a little bit tricky. But there is a general thing about moving stuff back into town, which is very beneficial because the more people that can utilise the town, the better. Really, the big problem with the food festival up at the pavilion is that it takes it's a separate event, isn't it? It's not in Rutland at all. It's in the pavilion. So if this was successful, I don't know if the food festival will plan to include a town element in the future.
Right. We're proposing that this would be a 2 day event, Saturday and Sunday. What we're hoping to do is to ask a lot of local producers who don't normally get a chance to come to the main food festival because it's too much money or too much of a commitment, or so that we're basically giving a chance to more local producers to sell their stuff. It would not be concessions, so there would not be tea or coffee or burgers. I don't think we've ever had a burger van and things like that. It's really food-based producers. In the future, we would probably take it back to the pavilion if we can, because it's a much bigger venue for it, and we can have in excess of 100 stalls there, and we can also charge an entry fee, which we have to do to be able to make enough money for it to continue. Obviously, in this situation here, there would be no entrance fee because it's in an open air. In part of the discussions with Gareth before were the possibility of doing other local producer sorts of events in the town as maybe a precursor to the normal food festival, or other events, other market type events.
Thank you, Sean.
It depends really on how people vote to be able to use the square. Because it
Thank you,
might come
Sharon.
to a dead end. Yeah.
Yeah, Councillor Mile.
Thank you, Kev. Basically, what about having, you've just spoken about markets, Sean. I mean, farmers markets, if we agree that the town square can be used, surely small farmers markets could be done on the far side of the square, maybe just away from, to keep people happy, away from the two memorials, or certainly not crowd them. I think, 4 or 5 stands at the far end would be lovely. It would really bring that square to life. That's me, Dan.
Which brings me actually to a suggestion that could keep everybody happy, is the fact that could we cordon off the memorials and just not use a particular area right next to the memorials, keep them free.
Could I just come in on one or two things Councillor Miles said? We have made a decision on the use of the square. We have terms and conditions, and it's clear for its non-profit, charitable and community groups. So, again, if somebody approaches us, we would bring it, or approaches me, it would come to this committee for a decision as to whether that's acceptable under those terms. Secondly, unfortunately, we will have to have a traffic management plan because it will be a requirement of the road closure from the County Council. And that will be about where, as we do for the Remembrance Sunday Christmas Festival, you have to have an advance notice up saying potential delays in the town. And then you've got to indicate the one-way system, as it were, or diversions, which, given road changes recently, or direction flows of certain roads, it's a lot easier now to close off Bridge Street because
there's nothing to divert.
There's nothing technically to divert. You come to the end and you send them round. So it's not a massive thing, but it will have to be done, and therefore you have to use Chapter 8 recognised contractors. I mean, I don't want to prolong it, but we desperately want to try and get Chapter 8 trained staff within the community for events so that we can do it ourselves. But that means
volunteer.
That means going on a ROSPA type course to get a group together. So
what would it cost approximately, Gareth?
Well, we're going off piste a bit now. That's something.
No, not that.
But I mean, for all I can say is Remembrance Day, which involves a lot more road closures and diversions because of the use of the parade at Mark Street, is about £500. So it's not. I don't think it'd be in that range of figures because this would be involving just some 1 or 2 diversional signs, and that's it, and the advance notice. So I don't think it's any going to be. Mind you, I thought it was going to be cheap to get a valuation on the town hall, so I will reserve judgment till we ask. But I don't. If you say 500, I think you've got it covered. And again, depending on the nature of the thing, whether we have to keep it closed overnight, whether some access could be allowed, and things like that need to be considered. But all that would have to be in the planning. There's still a long way to go. Yeah, what would fit where, what can do where, is it feasible for the, this is just it's almost like an outline application. Dependent on all the variants, the food festival might think it's just too difficult. And
exactly. Thank you, Gareth. So really, we want to take a vote now then. Do we support it? Those in favour of supporting it?
Well, there are
Sorry, John.
Just the other thing, if we can split out the support of it and whether we contribute to the town financially.
That would come in a separate one under full council.
Okay, righto.
So in recommendation A, it's just supporting the event in spirit, if you like.
Yeah.
So
proposed and seconded, and then.
Yeah, but I'll second that.
So John proposed, right? Anybody against?
I mean, obviously, I can't vote. So
No. Okay.
That's fantastic. So we do support it. Do we utilise our clause of the 18th?
That's free, isn't it, Gareth? Pretty much.
that means we can do it on behalf of community groups, and there's no cost to anybody. You know. Yeah.
I love that. Is anybody going to propose that?
Yeah, me.
Seconded.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How is this going to be communicated now without...
Can we finish? Sorry, Sean. Can we just finish getting them approved,
Yeah, okay.
and then I can explain. So that all.
And the third vote is: do we seek support from full council to financially support this? Which,
Well,
I guess.
I mean, are we opening up a box of frogs by offering to support this? Because
Yeah.
I mean, other groups could come along as well, and we'd be honour bound to do it for them. So maybe we should take it to full council and see what full council thinks.
Well, no, it's only the financial support that we're talking about. Full council, the community event on Centenary Square is within our purview, isn't it?
Which we've already.
No, we've done that, John, already. Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah.
I think. Can I just again suggest? I mean, we have a civic events fund.
Yeah.
So if the town council felt this was a worthy civic event as well as because what I'm saying is, we've asked the food festival to amend to add to something to encourage more community involvement on the square and to encourage, as I said, a sort of springboarding after COVID. They don't have to do that.
Exactly. I quite agree, guys.
Leveraged because of the sense in the square.
We're revisiting what we've already discussed, and I do appreciate that, Gareth. But basically, what we're voting on here is something that is outside of our control, because to support it with any monies would have to go through full council anyway. So,
yeah, but do you want to recommend that we take a short report and seek their support nearer the event?
That's exactly what we're voting on.
Oh, yeah.
So, do we have a proposer on that? John Haddy and seconded by Councillor Mile.
Okay, thank you. Nobody against?
Nobody against. Fantastic. That one's over.
I mean, just to answer Sean's question, obviously it's a decision of the committee now. Decision is made tonight. It will go out in the minutes. There's a new resolution that all meetings will now be recorded and then posted on our forgot the name of the thing, YouTube channel. So this will be there available to see. We've yet to decide on the limits of how long we'll be posting that, but that's a report to full council. And obviously, if people contact the town council, I will respond accordingly, giving the rationale why the decision was made tonight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clark.
Okay.
Okay, correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
Well, we sort of had correspondence, which happened this afternoon. I received an email from a fellow clerk in Denby, which is quite good news, actually. And on the basis of that, I contacted the non-domestic rating unit in Denbighshire, quoting Section 44A of some regulation. I'm not quite sure what it is. And as a consequence of that, we have had 6 months stay of rates on the building. 3 months during the first lockdown from March, the specific date was when we closed on the 18th to the 18th, whatever, 3 months later, and similarly from the 6th of December to the 6th of March. So that has given us a credit of £5,048 on our rate bill, which will carry over, which means we won't be paying rates until probably August, September, which is good news because that helps the financial position. As you know, as I say, we're still not sure where we are forward, but purely, sort of good communication between fellow clerks and a phone call, and it was done. I was expecting, a massive series of calls.
It's nice to see some money coming our way.
Yeah, nice one, Gary.
So hopefully, I said that will help us going forward. So yes, Chairman.
That's very good. It's nice to have some good news.
Can I make the comment that we shouldn't really have to pursue this? They should be telling us about it. But that's the nature of government.
Well, I mean, in fair, Jenny, and I think the advantage with Jenny is an ex-Denbighshire employee and knows a lot of people and just happened to chat. And then once, because now they're taking over, I'm not sure if they've had the town hall transferred yet, but thought, oh, I know a man that can, kind of thing. So gave me an email to ring her, and it all happened this afternoon. So I'm quite, it's quite nice to know that at least it'll help us for next year, because we have got still pressures on the budget going forward.
Smashing. That's good, because we don't need to spend money that we haven't got, do we?
No.
And it's great to get some more coffers in. Great. Thank you. Is that the only correspondence?
Yeah. And we've had no reports table.
And no reports.
So
ladies and gentlemen.
Can I just ask Gareth?
Yeah, please. Sorry, Councillor Mile.
Can I just ask Gareth a question? Gareth, have you got any idea how much Denby Town Hall pay on their insurance?
Yes, I think I quoted it, didn't I?
I've such a bad memory.
I think they're about £7,000, of which 3,000 is the building reinstatement costs and 4,000 general. So we have budgeted for an increase, so hopefully it'll come within that. And I'm hoping that we will be able to use that money, the insurance money, to pay for the valuation as well.
Yeah.
But,
is that? Do you know what their sum assured is, or sum insured is at Denby?
I think it's 7 million.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot bigger than us then.
Their building is at least 3 times the size of ours.
Oh, right, good. Oh, excellent, good. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. A fun year.